Sounds good.
Okay, this is a unique story because it probably is a story that bonded and brought Jen and I together for what I would say the rest of our life. When I first met Jen, she didn't tell me about Mayor Baba. She just told me she follows a spiritual leader in India. And my first thought it was the Dalai Lama. And I happened to like that guy, and I'm saying, oh, I'd like to meet the Dalai Lama. So she says, no, it's not the Dalai Lama, it's Mayor Baba. And I said, what's he the mayor of, you know? So she says, no, and then she explained what Mayor and Baba is, and I said, well, that's interesting. And I couldn't wait to run upstairs that night when she went home to Google him. I had to get on a computer, find who this guy is, right? I wasn't too impressed about what was written in him like that. If I had to write it, I would write it a lot better than that, about what I know now about the man. So I really wasn't impressed, and I told her I Googled him, and I wasn't impressed with what I read. And she says, well, listen, tomorrow I want to go to the center to see Ira Gross, who she was very close with, and he was going back home. So she said, would you like to come? I said, well, where's the center? So she says, it's up right past the Tanger Outlet Walmart. And I said, what? She says, it's a 500-acre center. I said, where the hell is 500 acres in the middle of Myrtle Beach up there? I said, are you kidding me? She says, no. I says, where? How could it be there? So I says, where could this be? Now, I had a condo I owned on Sea-Watch, which is right at the beach. And I used to look out my 11th floor, porch, and I'd see this property past the RV park and saying, man, somebody's gonna be really rich when they sell all that beachfront property. Unbeknownst to me, I have been coming here for 47 years, and I have passed the Baba Center hundreds of times. Never knew it was there. Never even heard of it. So I was amazed. So when she brought me up there, I couldn't wait to get in. I wanted to see this place. We pulled in there, and when I got out of the car, we parked it, we walked down to the original kitchen, and I was just mesmerized. I said, this is like a piece of heaven. I love it here. Now, we were getting serious, and we were thinking about either building a house or buying a house, and I said, you know what? I want to buy an acre of land off the left side of the lake. Who can I talk to? He says, you can't buy an acre of land. I said, look, everybody has a price. Let me talk to whoever's in charge. He says, you can't buy anything here.
Good old New Yorker,
You know, she said, it's religious ground. They're not going to sell it to you. All right. Now, unbeknownst to me, because I had told her I wasn't too thrilled with what I read, she had asked Baba to give her a sign that this relationship should continue going forward, and that I might think that she's a nut job for following this guy. So she says to me, we met Ira and introduced ourselves to him, and she says, why don't you take the tour of Baba's house? Elaine Goodman was given the tour. I said, all right, whatever. So she went in, and she went into Baba's room. And then I said, where you going? And she says, we go into Baba's room, and we sit around his bed, or we sit on the floor by his bed. I said, what are you doing there? And she says, oh, we pray. I said, you pray in the room where the guy slept? I said, what, are you kidding me? So now I really thought she was whacked, and I said, oh, this is really going on. So now I can't wait to get in there, right? I was upset that we didn't get there earlier, so we can go. Anyway. So I start the tour with Elaine Goodman. There was 8 of us on this tour. And she starts with the parlor, with the picture of Baba in there and explaining all that. Then we went into the little room off to the side, with that glass thing and explaining all that. And then we headed to the back room. And she says, you can't go into the Baba's room because they're praying. Everybody's praying in there. It's all right. She says, you can go in later. So she took us into the, I guess that's the Mondelez room where the stone is. And I'm a guy that likes to stay back, let everybody do their thing, and then I have the room to myself. So everybody was going around and who was touching the stone. She told us about the stone, that it was an original stone of his crypt, and they broke it up and sent it to all the Bible places around the world. Okay, everybody's touching the stone. It's all right. When everybody leaves, I'll touch it. So now everybody leaves, and I go over, trying to be just committed, and Elaine Goodman's standing in the doorway waiting for me. And she said, come on, we have to go. We're going to the next room. And I don't want to go yet. I want to touch the stone, but I really didn't want her to see me doing it. Right? So she's standing by the door. She wouldn't leave. So I said, all right, I'm going to touch the stone. So I put my hands on the stone, and all of a sudden, a wave comes over me. And it's tingling. I mean, it's tingling me now.
Yeah.
And it's tingling me, goes down my back, all the way to my feet. And I said, what the hell was that? And she says, come on, Paul, we have to go. I said, oh, jeez. And now I didn't want to, I wanted to tell her, leave me alone, go away. But I said, all right, I'll come in. And I walked out. I don't remember the rest of the tour. All I knew, I wanted to get back in there. Now, this is what I love about Bob. He reassures you that nothing's a mistake or a fluke. So we finished the tour, and I went to Elaine. I said, can I go into that room in the back again with the stone? She said, sure, go anywhere you want. Okay. Ran in the back room, nobody there. And I went, I put my stone on it, and it was twice as big. This wave came over me. And I couldn't believe it. It was so soothing, so comforting, so warm. Such a great feeling. I didn't want to take my hands off that stone. Then I started crying. I hadn't cried in 30 years because I was a homicide detective. I lost my heart. Even my mother and father died, I never cried. And I'm crying, I'm saying, what the hell am I crying about? And the tears just kept coming out of my eyes. And I said, I gotta get out of here. So I left and I went out the door, and Jen's out on the porch talking to all her friends. And she sees me and she says, what's the matter? I said, I don't know. She said, well, what happened in there? I said, I don't know. So she says, well, why are you crying? I said, I don't know. So she says, tell me what happened. Now, I said, I'm not telling you here because I figured her friends would think I'm nuts. I said, let's go someplace else. She says, okay. So we walked out, we went by the bench behind Barbara's house, and we're looking out over the porch. And I'm still crying. And I'm saying, I don't know what the hell happened in there. So she says, tell me what happened. So I told her the story about what happened. And she said, Baba got your heart. He did. Big time. Big time. Well, that brought us together, really. And we started having plans about getting married. And I had in the Franciscan paper, they were having a Franciscan pilgrimage to Assisi, Rome and Assisi. So I said, would you want to go to Rome and Assisi with me? They're having a pilgrimage. I said, let's go. Oh yeah, she says, yeah, let's go, I'll go. So she says, okay, so I called up, I got the last 2 tickets. Tell me this isn't this guy. So she says, listen, maybe after Rome and Assisi, we could hop over to India. Now, my first thought was, there's no way I'm going to India. And I said, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. And I said, what the hell did I just say? But I committed myself. So we went right from, we got married in Assisi by a priest that was on the pilgrimage with us. I had asked him, and Father Escalante, and I said, would you consider marrying us in Assisi? And we had stopped on a bus stop on one of the tours, and I went in and asked him if I could buy him a cappuccino, and he said, oh yeah. So I figured, let me ask him now. We're one-on-one. And he said, wow. He said, yeah, I'll marry you. And he started crying. And I said, what the hell did I say? It made him cry. And he says, I have 4 missions throughout the world. I really don't have time for this. But one of his parishioners bought him the ticket and made him come with her. And he felt bad to say, no, I don't have time for this. I have to go take care of missions. And he came on this pilgrimage. And he said to me as he was crying, now I know why I'm on this pilgrimage. It's to marry you too.
And tell them about the presence of Baba at the ceremony.
He said, let me make all the arrangements. We got married in, my last name is Distefano. We got married in St. Stefano's church down in the lower part of Assisi, who was the first Catholic Franciscan priest martyred. And they have the church for him. And it's small, it's half the size of this room. And it's a little tiny place. And he says, I will make all the arrangements. We can't let anybody else on the pilgrimage except her and I, Father Escalante, the woman who brought Father Escalante, Kathleen York, and a friend that she met on the tour that became good friends, Phyllis Rowlands. He says, just the 5 of us. And he says, we all have to come from different directions so that nobody knows we're meeting.
Honey, tell them why, though, because I'm not Catholic.
She's not Catholic.
And the head priest did not want to sanction our marriage because I was a non-Catholic.
It's funny that I have the picture. I had asked the, whatever you want to call him, the Grand Poupar of the Franciscans in the United States, Father Linus DeSantis, if he would marry us. This was before we went off on this thing, and he said, oh, I can't do that. I need to counsel you for 3 months, and then I need you to go to pre-Cana. I said, I'm 65 years old. I don't need pre-Cana. If you know what pre-Cana is, it's supposed to prepare you for marriage, so you know what you're doing. He says, I really didn't need that. I said, come on, Father, I don't really need, no, you have to do it. So he wouldn't go for it. And now Father Escalante didn't want to make any waves with him because he can get him in trouble. So he says, we have to do this secret. Anyway, we said 10 o'clock, we're going to meet at 10 o'clock in the morning to go to the church and get married. And we get into the church, and there's people in this church, visitors from all over, going in, walking around. I'm saying, how the heck are we going to do this? Get on the altar and have this marriage with all these people around? They're going to wonder what's going on. So we started milling around and looking at everything, taking some pictures. And next thing you know, everybody leaves the church. And whoever left the church last closed the front door, which isn't supposed to be closed. Now, I don't know why they closed that door, and there it was, just the 5 of us in that church. And for the next 20 minutes while we had the marriage ceremony, nobody came into church. We finished, we took a couple of pictures, we walked out the front door, and the whole pilgrimage, including Father Linus, was coming down the steps to enter the church. Would have come 5 minutes earlier, he was in the middle of our wedding. Divine intervention. This guy takes care of everything.
What was delicious about that, though, you're skipping a little, sorry to interject,
No,
but
go
I
ahead.
think they would like to hear that part, that we had become very close with Father Escalante because we were sharing deeply about our own spiritual paths, how us Baba lovers can just get right to the core of things. And so there was a real camaraderie that had begun to develop with this priest, Father Escalante. And so this was why I think that he felt honored or something, I don't know if honored is the right word, but that it was right, something felt right about this. And he kind of knew a little background of our story. So we don't know why it happened, but we know that we had all been, and we ourselves had been going to all these great little chapels, and of course to the wonderful cave in Assisi, where Baba spent time in the cave of St. Francis, praying and asking for guidance and help with what is relationship really about, all the things when one goes deep that one would ask. So there was a real sense of a spiritual experience kind of happening, and it was happening kind of through the relationship. So sharing that with Father Escalante and his assistant and this other wonderful gal who used to be I think she followed Yogananda or something like that, but she had a very open mind. She was Catholic. But when we went in and Father began to do the ceremony, Baba's presence came so strong into that room, and he just began to weep and weep and weep. And
Father
then
Escalante.
Father Escalante,
was just
as he
crying.
was
He
doing
was
the
crying during the
ceremony.
whole ceremony. And I started crying. Then she started crying.
That's
and
what
he's
I
yelling
recognized.
At me. I thought you would be the strong one. You're the cop. Why are you crying?
Anyway,
No,
and everyone
like
there
she
was
said,
crying
it was
because
Baba's
it had to
presence.
do.
It really
It's
was.
what I recognize as Baba's presence. But very, very strong, and it was palpable, and everyone felt it. And so there was, who knows what it's really about? We don't know. We don't profess that we know. We're just sharing the story as we know it, as it unfolded for us. But then after that wonderful experience, we left for India, and he, with his stack of golf magazines, go ahead, take it from here. Because he's
Well,
thinking,
When we got to India, she says, everybody goes to sleep at 9 o'clock. And I said, I can't go to sleep at 9 o'clock. I'll be up at 2, 3 in the morning. I said, I need something to keep me awake. So she says it was 7 o'clock and we had jet lag and everything, and that drive from Mumbai to Maribor. And so she goes to sleep at 7 o'clock. So before she went to sleep, I said, do me a favor. I needed a book that would put me to sleep. So I said, get me a Baba book and I'll read it for an hour and then I could fall asleep. So she goes into the library, into the front office, and she picks out Erich's book. That's the way it was. And she says, read this, you'll like this. And she was close with Erich, so she knew all the stories, unbeknownst to me. So she goes to sleep, and about 8 o'clock I start reading this book. 4 o'clock in the morning I finish the book. Never even blinked, never even thought about going to sleep. I was so wound up at 4 in the morning, I wanted to go wake her up to tell her about all these stories I read. And at 7 o'clock, she came down for breakfast, and I was like a wound-up corkscrew. And I said, I read that whole book. Did you know this story? Yeah, Erich told me that one. I said, what about this story? Yeah, I heard that one. What about this story? Erich told me that one, too. And this one? Erich told me that. I never read one golf magazine that I took, a stack like this. I read 6 books while I was there. And
books.
we haven't stopped reading Baba since. We read every day. And I just can't get enough of it.
that's it.
Thief of Hearts. I have the picture on the blue bus. Wanted Thief of Hearts? That's him. Thief of Hearts. That's him. True. He got mine.